Hello everybody, I am NicoD. So today I'm back with a new device. It is this, the NanoPi R6S. So I love this device a lot. I've gotten this from friendlyelec. So this comes with the RK3588S SoC. So this is very powerful. It has 8 cores. It has got 8 GB of RAM and it also has got a 32 GB eMMC. So this has got 2 ports of 2.5 gigabit Ethernet and 1 port of 1 gigabit Ethernet. It also has got HDMI, which I love. It also has got a USB Type-C port for power, so PD up to 20 volts. It also has got an SD reader, which I love a lot. A lot of new RK3588 boards don't have an SD reader. So with this you can test images on the SD. And if you are happy with it, you can install it on eMMC, so you don't have to remove your production image to test something new. With the Kadas Edge 2, for example, there is no SD reader and you can only run an image from eMMC, so you have to remove the image from the eMMC to install something else. So for that, the SD reader is really awesome. It also has got one USB 3 port and one USB 2 port. So what I use it for mostly is for a fast NAS. So I bought this Samsung Evo 872 terabyte SSD. So this is more than fast enough to saturate the USB 3 ports and also more than fast enough to saturate the 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports. So 2.5 gigabit Ethernet can go up to 250 megabytes. While the USB 4 port can do more than 400 megabytes, a little bit more than 400 with this. So it is a great NAS. I use it combined with my PC. So I also have got a 5 gigabit Ethernet adapter for my PC. So I can use it at 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. I can copy files at 250 megabytes and that works great with Windows. But with Linux it doesn't work as good. So I'm still searching for a solution to have better performance. But like for example with the Rock 5B, I can only get maximum of 150 megabytes a second. So that with the GNOME file sharing app, SFTP doesn't perform very well with Linux. But I'm no Linux network guru. I used to work with only 5 GHz Wi-Fi. So I'm very happy to have upgraded my network. This is awesome. I used to use the Orange Pi Plus, an old device, and I used to use that. That was my first NAS, and that worked at 18 megabytes a second. I also have got an Odroid XU4 that works at 70 megabytes a second. So this is a lot faster. I love this. I can do my video editing, put all the files on here and work from my Windows PC, and it is just as if it is on my Windows PC. So I was planning to use the Rock 5B as main desktop, or maybe the Mechatronics or 58, but for now this performs best as desktop, so I also use it as a main desktop. I don't turn on my PC if I don't need it. This doesn't make any noise, it doesn't consume much, and it is a really good desktop experience. So video playback with YouTube is great, and all I do is watch YouTube and browse the internet. So for that it is really great. The only thing that doesn't work with it is the pan fork driver, so the panfrost driver for the RK3588. So it does have got Ubuntu 22.04, but the pan fork driver doesn't work. So for gaming I turn on my PC. For just desktop use I use this and it is really awesome. I also use it as a torrent server and I also use it to build ambient images. So it is an awesome device. So I'm gonna show you the website of friendlyelec where you can buy it. I'm gonna show you the wiki and I'm gonna show you where to download the images. And then I'm gonna show you some benchmarks, some file transfer speeds. So here we go! So let me show you how I use it. So here is my 10 gigabit and 2.5 gigabit Ethernet switch. It is from QNAP. So my R6S is connected to this on a 2.5 gigabits Ethernet port. My PC is connected to 10 gigabits. So I have got HDMI connected over here. This is connected to my HDMI switch. Then I have got my SSD over here. And I have got my USB 2 for my HDMI switch. So I can switch. So let me show you. So here I am in Windows. Here is my HDMI switch. I just have to press the button and wait a bit. And here it is. So this is the R6S GNOME. So here is the website of friendlyelec, and here we have got first the R5C, also has got 2 ports of 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, the R6S, the R4SE and the R5S. The R4 has got the RK3588, R5 has got RK3588, and here we are at the NanoPi R6S. So it costs $139 with the case. So let's go down to here. So let's go over the layout. So I'm gonna start at the top left and go clockwise. So first we have got the first 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, then the second 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, then 1 gigabit Ethernet port, then HDMI, USB Type-C for power, so PD from 5 volts up to 20 volts, debug UART pins, the RTL8211F for the 1 gigabit Ethernet, micro SD slots, then a special port for GPIO with SPI, UART and I2C, then USB 3 port and USB 2 port, a few LEDs, 8 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, the Rockchip RK3588S SOC, RTC connector, and then 2 times RTL8125BG chips, and the user button. On the bottom we see the eMMC of 32 GB and the infrared receiver. And here's some pictures of the board and the case. I really love the case. I'm a sucker for metal cases. And here we have got the wiki. So if we go there, this is a really extensive wiki. So as you see, they explain a lot of things. Work with Ubuntu 2204, work with Android. It is a very good wiki for beginners. You can learn a lot on how to use SBCs from the friendlyelec wiki. So it is really an awesome wiki. That's a good job to you, friendlyelec. So let's go to install OS, and there we have got download links. So here we can choose between Google Drive and the Chinese download page. So here are the official images. So there are the SD card images to boot from SD card, SD to eMMC, to install from SD card to eMMC. So here we have got the Jammy minimal image, Jammy desktop, so Jammy with GNOME, then friendly VRT for Docker, then Debian Buster, and as last there is Android 12 TV. So Android 12 TV only works from eMMC, you cannot boot it from SD cards. And then if we go to here, there is testing images, and there we have got Debian Bullseye. So Debian is great if you want to use Open Media Vault. I don't like Open Media Vault. I like Ubuntu, so I use Ubuntu and I install Samba, and I still can use the desktop the way I want it. So here I am at the first boot of a fresh Ubuntu 2204 image on the SD card. So I've got a 4K display, but I don't see well, so I have to change a few settings. So first I turn on fractional scaling and I set the scaling to 150%. But that's not enough for my bad eyes. I search for accessibility, and here we can set large text. And like this I can read my display. Then I change my appearance. So go to appearance. Auto hides the dog. And the position on the bottom. This is how I like it. So here we can see what is installed by default. There is no GNOME tweaks. There is no extensions or extensions manager. So let's install all that. Open a terminal. First do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade, of course. Once that is done, we can install our apps. So sudo apt install gnome-shell-extensions and gnome-shell-extension-manager and gnome-tweaks. That's it. That is one reason why I really hate GNOME. Why aren't all these apps in the settings? Why isn't the extensions manager in the extensions? It is just a bit weird. Why do they have to put it all in a different place? Makes me think of Microsoft. So let's open the extensions manager and install a few extensions. So let's go to browse. Here let's install applications menu, places indicator, removable drive menu, date menu formatter. And now let's search for monitor. Let's go down a bit. And here we have got resource monitor. And I'll search for frequency. Go down a bit and here we have got CPU frec. Let's install that. And now I click on the resource monitor and I set that up. So what I do, I disable disk. At network, I disable VLAN. I forgot it here. And at thermal, I choose SOC thermal. This is another example of buggy GNOME. How doesn't this scale to the whole window? It is very simple to do that in programming, but they didn't do that. So I selected the SOC temperature, and as you see, it is 40 degrees right now. That is about the idle temperature. And now we are done. This is how I like my GNOME desktop setup. So here is my 2TB SSD. So this has got all the files that I need to access quickly. Also has got all my MP3s. So these are the bands that I like. So to share this with a Linux distro, I use this GNOME sharing here. So media sharing. And there I have got my 2TB SSD. And it is wired to connection number 3. So like this I can access it with Linux, and this is the fastest way to use it. So SFTP doesn't work well, that's something that I've learned. And of course, to do it with Windows, we use Samba. So to install it, sudo apt install Samba. I've already got it installed here. And once that is done, sudo genie or whatever text editor you like, then etc samba/smb.conf. And there I've got my configuration, so it is very simple. These are the 5 lines that I added, so that is all that is needed to do to share my files over my network with either Linux computers or with my Windows computer. So here I am at my Windows computer, and here I've got a shortcut to my R6S. So just click on it, and here I've got my 2TB SSD. So let's search a file here in Kdenlive, and my Christmas gig, that's 4 GB, big enough for a test. So let's go to my C drive, that's a Samsung NVMe, so fast enough. And as you see, this way it goes up to 200 megabytes a second. That's not bad. So that was 21 seconds to copy 4.2 gigabytes. And now let's do the reverse. So copy it to my 2TB SSD on my R6S. And this is a bit faster. So this goes up to 280 megabytes a second. No idea why it is faster one way than the other. But I'm already happy to have 200 megabytes a second. So it was 16 seconds from my Windows computer to the R6S. So that is pretty good. There is something I forgot about in the initial setup. So if we go again to sharing, so there is no file sharing over here. And we need that for the fastest access with Linux. So for that we need to install sudo apt install gnome-user-share. And once that is installed we will have file sharing here. So let me close this and reopen it and go to sharing. Here we have got file sharing. So let's turn that on, put in my password. And like this I can have my fastest access with Linux. Now let's show you the different performances with different tools. So here I am a day later. So let's check with iPerf3. So if you do -s on the server, so I do that on the R6S. And here I do -c and then the IP address. And here we can see that the connection is very good, so 280 megabytes a second and 2.35 gigabits a second. So that is a good connection, but the problem is if we then go to browse network and there, so here I've got my NicoD Christmas file. So if we then go to R6S, so this is the Samba share, and let's copy this file again. Then we will see that this is pretty slow, so it is about 50 megabytes a second. I will fast forward this because it takes too long. So this took 1 minute and 24 seconds and I am not happy with this. So as I told you, there is another way. So you can also use SFTP, but SFTP also doesn't perform well. So the other way is here with Pi's public files. So give my password. So that is the file sharing. Now you see Pi public files over here. But this uses the public folder in my home folder. So this isn't on my SSD. So the speed can't be that fast because it uses the eMMC. And the eMMC doesn't perform well in write speeds. So now let's copy the same file again over this. And you see it starts fast, but then it slows down. That seems something to do with the eMMC of the R6S. It doesn't perform well after a while. I see the same with GNOME Disks Benchmark. It starts at 150 megabytes and then goes down to 30 megabytes or 50 megabytes. So this isn't performing great, this isn't what I want, but I do have a solution for it, but it isn't the solution that I wanted. So this took 2 minutes and 4 seconds, and that's not good. So now let's show you the other way around. So here I am back at the R6S. So here I've got the same for the Rock5B. So here I've got my public folder for the Rock5B. That is on the NVMe of the Rock5B. And here I've got the SSD of my R6S. And if I now copy this file and paste it, then we will see that this goes really fast. So this is about 280 megabytes a second. So this is the fastest it can go. So I do have a good connection between my Rock5B and my R6S, but I have to do it on the R6S itself. If I do it with the Rock5B, I don't have a good connection, only about 50 megabytes a second. So I had a lot of problems with this. I had to do a lot of searching to get a good performance. You heard it yesterday that I didn't have that good performance, but now I found a solution, but it isn't the solution I want. So if you know a better solution, please let me know. I am still learning about networks. So again, it isn't the same both ways. So from the R6S to the Rock5B, it is 21 seconds and about 180 megabytes a second. But I'm not gonna complain about that. Then now the video playback. So this is the reason why I love the R6S so much, because it does this very well. So let's go to my trip to the Voosh. So let's set it at 1080p. And let's show you the stats.
Derrière is hurting a lot from it.
So normally I was thinking to go to the top of that. So this is perfect. It can also do 1080p 60 FPS perfectly. It does help that I use fractional scaling. If it were true 4K it would have a bit more troubles. But it still can do 1080p at true 4K. So this is using the CPU, but Wayland is very good at displaying video. With X11 you would have screen tearing. And here it displays every frame nicely, even when there are dropped frames. So 1440p also works well. 4K ain't perfect, a lot of dropped frames, but it does look pretty nice. In French, I think. I'm not that good in French, so I really needed this trip. I wasn't feeling too great after iRevive's festival. And so I needed something to... And now for video files, it does that also very well. So here a 1440p video. Hello everybody, I am NicoD. So today I am back. So that was perfect. Here 4K video. Hello everybody, I am NicoD. Today I am glad to say that I'm back with a new single board. And that's also perfect. So I can't ask for more. I do not watch Netflix or any other streaming provider. So I do not know if that works. Here the 7-zip decompression results with Ubuntu Jammy. So this is the R6S against the Rockchip RK3588S. And the NicoD Edge 2, so all have the RK3588, the R6S and the Edge 2 have the S version. The weird thing here is the single core performance is a lot better on the Edge 2. Single core performance for the R6S doesn't seem that good and I don't know why that is, while the multi-core performance is okay. But benchmarks don't say anything. With Blender it was all three the same time. So 3 minutes and 25 seconds. So why 7-zip would do it differently? I don't know. And here the 7-zip decompression results with different socks. So the NanoPi R6S does outperform them all, but the NicoD Vim 4 does come close. The single core performance of the Odroid N2 Plus is very good. It is overclocked a little bit, but we've seen that the RK3588 can perform better on single core. The Station P1 with RK3399 is less than half as powerful, and the Raspberry Pi 4, even clocked at 2 GHz, is less than half as powerful as the R6S. So it is very nice to have such a powerful CPU in such a device. For me it comes out very handy if I want to build an ambient image. It is pretty fast at that. Here the file transfer rates. So the SD reader is pretty good. 76 megabytes a second reads, 52.8 megabytes a second writes. The USB 3 performance is great, so 428.9 megabytes a second reads, 410.4 megabytes a second writes, and then the 32 gigabyte eMMC. I've already told you there is a problem here. So 280 megabytes a second reads, this is good, but the writes 34.3 megabytes a second. So it starts at 150 and it then goes down and down and down. So we've seen that happen before when copying a file to the eMMC over the network. And then the temperatures. So the idle temperature is 40 C. So that is 104 Frankenstein units. And maxed out it goes up to 70 C. And that's 158 Frankensteins. So now my conclusion. So the NanoPi R6S is my favorite RK3588 board until now. Why? Because it has this lovely case. The NicoD Edge 2 has a bit better software, but it is a bare board. I don't like to use it like it is right now. So the case is just great. Having an SD reader is also awesome. The Microtronics doesn't have that, NicoD Edge 2 doesn't have that, so that's a good thing. Having 2.5 gigabit Ethernet is awesome. I used to use only 5 GHz Wi-Fi, and that was very slow compared to 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. Having a fast NAS is also great. I can access it from whatever computer I want, so from all my SBCs and also from my PCs. It has got a really powerful CPU, so that is good for multiple server tasks. So I use it for a NAS, I use it for Ambient build server, I use it for torrent server. Only the Ambient build server does need the performance, but it is nice to have it. If you do not need this performance, then look for an R5S or for the R5C. The only thing that I would have loved to see on this device is a dual HDMI port, so you cannot dual display with it, and that is a pity. It is possible to do that with this SoC, but that port would cost more money, of course. And only having one USB 3 port for fast I/O is also a pity. I would have loved to see NVMe or so, but the PCIe lanes are used for the second 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port. And also the PanFork GPU driver isn't working on Ubuntu 22.04. I'm still looking to fix this. So when I want to play a game, I have to turn on my PC. But for 80% of my tasks, I can use the NanoPi R6S. Most of the time I put my PC to sleep, no noise from that, and then I can watch YouTube, I can browse the internet, I can do my research, all in silence, and I love that. And it also doesn't consume that much. So I've checked, for one 2.5 GHz port, it is about 2 watts. With everything connected, it can consume up to 15 watts. Idle it can go up to 3 watts. But if you use an SSD and network and so, then it will go to 5 or 7 watts idle. That's a lot better than my PC, which always consumes about 100 watts, at least. So that will be it for this video. I've worked a long time on this video, so if you want to support me, you can become a patron for me. I only have one patron, but I'm very thankful to him. Or you can donate a coffee or a beer on my PayPal. So thank you all for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. See you all later. Bye!